I hardly ever remember exactly how a song starts, and I definitely forget most of the writing process once it's over. But Intertwined started out with one simple idea, that my husband's and my possessions, our stuff, had gotten completely intermingled after many, many years of living together. Our lives had become utterly and completely intertwined. That's what I thought the song was going to be about. But as soon as I started writing the song, it started to take on a life of its own, touching on other larger ideas of interrelationship. The circle of the song continued to widen as it was being written, and then indeed long afterward. Today, as we begin a month of reflection on the theme of love, and as we celebrate our interconnectedness within the wider Canadian Unitarian movement, and indeed as this congregation's circle continues to widen and evolve, it seemed a good place to start. So what does any song or any form of creative expression have to do with love? Well, in my experience, it has everything to do with it. I believe that love is at the heart of all creative activity, and that it reflects a divine love, a big creativity, if you will, that links us all together and invites us into new forms of recreating love all the time. I believe that we can trust this creative process, which is always ongoing within us and within our world. Indeed, I see the interdependent web of all existence, which we affirm and promote in our Unitarian seventh principle, as a living, breathing, and ever-creative activity, ever-creative entity, in which each of us is the weaver and the loom, continually formed and reformed in love. So how does it all start? How does any song begin, or any relationship spark? Well, the beginning point, I have found, has a lot to do with what we call eros, the powerful lure of attraction that pulls us forward toward the object of our fascination. It could be a combination of chords or a number of musical notes in a sequence that align in harmony, something that brings us pleasure and joy, and that we want to experience again and again and again. It may be the light, the appeal of light falling on the curtain in your living room that you wonder if you might be able to sketch or paint. Or it could be an idea that hooks you and drives you toward your computer to explore that idea in words. Or it could be also a powerful attraction to a community, a cause, a project, something that compels you and draws you in closer to it so that you may make a difference. Back in the 1930s, a woman named Brenda Euland led a creative writing class at her local YWCA. She saw loving attraction to life as the starting point for all good writing and creative activity. She found examples of that loving attraction everywhere. She wrote, "If you read the letters of the painter Van Gogh, you will see what his creative impulse was. It was just this. He loved something. The sky, say. He loved human beings. He wanted to show human beings how beautiful the sky was, so he painted it for them. And that was all there was to it." She goes on, "The moment I read Van Gogh's letters, I knew what art was. It was a feeling of love and enthusiasm for something. and in a direct, simple, passionate, and true way, you try to show this beauty in things to others. This spark of creative fascination can take many forms. It is exciting and seductive and uplifting and life-giving. It mirrors in so many ways the experience we call falling in love, the initial infatuation we feel for another, and the urge to get closer to that person. As many wise teachers have pointed out, this initial phase of romance has a lot to do with projection. That is, the seeing of beauty or divinity, the seeing of the beauty or divinity within ourselves in the image of another. I think that extends to places and things as well as people. We recognize beauty because it is within us. We find the divine all around us because we are made of it ourselves. Then we are drawn into it, to participate in it, and to bring more love into being. Back in the 13th century, the Sufi poet Rumi wrote a poem that is familiar to many of us. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Do not go into the study and begin reading. Take up the dulcimer. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Back then, this Sufi mystic was saying what creativity teachers are still saying today. The beauty we love can become what we do and who we are. It can be a living engagement with love itself, which is to say, a spiritual or even a religious experience. Something that rejoins us to the larger wholeness from which we all began and to which we will all return. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground, hundreds of ways to honor and revere the sacred beauty of our lives, to love that beauty and make it the center of our living. As we do this, choice by choice, word by word, action by action, color by color, we may find that the beauty we love lifts us up and generates more loving energy as it is connected to all living things. The poet Maya Angelou once said, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use it, the more you have." Recently, I attended a talk by Cynthia Bourgeot. She's an Episcopal priest and wisdom teacher who recommends getting in touch with our physical selves in order to reconnect with what she calls mystical hope. Connecting with our senses is the most simple way, connecting with our senses in the most simple of ways. For instance, in the talk I attended, she recommended a practice of simply turning one's attention to one's hand to take away the attention from worrying thoughts, to focus on the marvel that is, the feel of it, the look of it, all of the detail in it, to recreate with life in the simplest and most creative of ways. In this, I think she's aligned with Rumi, who suggested that instead of trying to solve our anxiety with our intellect, we sometimes may try picking up the dulcimer. By that, I don't believe he specifically meant a dulcimer or any kind of musical instrument. It could be a paintbrush or a pen or a carving knife or your dancing shoes or a bunch of fresh ingredients for a new recipe. Rumi's point was that when we are feeling sad and anxious, and who isn't these days, one promising route toward well-being is any physical action that puts us in touch with our innate creativity. He said, every day we wake up angry and frightened. How many of us can relate to that? I certainly can. A healing response, and one that connects us to the essence of life that is our spiritual center, is to get in touch with physical sensation, the touch, taste, smell, image, and sound of life in this present moment. That is what creative activity does. It brings us into the present moment when we are listening to our instrument, breathing and singing with our voice, experimenting with color and light, gazing at a tree, perhaps drawing it, perhaps just gazing at it, or playing with language and delighting in the intertwining of words, whether on the page or in conversation with another. When we do any of these and far more, we discover the beauty of the intertwined connections between all things, and we affirm how we ourselves are deeply connected to the beauty to which we are so powerfully attracted. The beauty we love becomes the beauty we do. We find ourselves more deeply in relationship with life, and relationship has a way of carrying us through all kinds of difficulties. Through our open-hearted engagement with the beauty we love, we no longer feel separate from one another, we no longer feel separate from the world, and we no longer feel divided within ourselves. Now, so far, I've been talking about the energizing and enjoyable aspects of creativity, and the ways in which we feel joyfully connected to life and to love. Those times when creative effort results in new joy that becomes its own reward. Yet we all know it is not always so simple. There are many times when we might pick up the dulcimer and find that a string is broken, or that we don't have the skill to do the beauty that we can imagine and long for, or that the work may flow well for a while, but then it hits an unexpected roadblock, an impasse. Or we might encounter a challenge in life that stops us or shakes our confidence. We may lose the thread of meaning upon which we thought we had a very firm grip. Here's how the painter Emily Carr described such an experience when she was painting a landscape. "I thought my mountain was coming this morning," she wrote. "It was near to speaking when suddenly it shifted, sulked, and returned to smallness. It has eluded me again and sits there puny and dull. Why? Why?" It is so true that our intentions do not always lead to the beauty or harmony that we wish to create, whether it is in a work of art or in any relationship. The writer Ursula K. Le Guin translated this line from the ancient text called the Tao Te Ching. "Everybody on earth, knowing that beauty is beautiful, makes ugliness. Everybody knowing that goodness is good makes wickedness." That is to say, failure and disappointment is as much a part of the fabric of life as is fulfillment and joy. The temptation, of course, is to reject our shortcomings and our failures, our shadow sides, our sulky mountains, if you will, all the areas in which our relationships seem to fall short. But the work of love requires a willingness to sit with that puny and dull mountain, wherever and whenever it arises. That is, whenever there is a gap between our hopes and our expectations and our reality, whether we are in the middle of writing a song, trying to sustain a congregation, or just in the many ways of living that we do every day. When those gaps and impasses open up, what happens next? Do we tense up, resist, justify our position, try to control, or do we look for some way to release, to let go a little bit, that we might invite in other sources of wisdom, perhaps beyond our own current awareness? In the poem, The Weaver and the Loom, Donna Folds writes, "Take a moment to just be, and in the being, know the whole of this creation, mystery and madness, passion and profanity. Sit still, and the thin line between sacred and profane simply fades away. There is nothing then to reconcile. All the disparate threads are woven on the loom of life. Sit here for a bit, and your unique place in the pattern becomes clear." Sit here for a bit. How difficult it is to do that, to simply sit in the discomfort of our own unknowing until our unique place in the pattern becomes clear. Coming to know our unique place, I believe, has everything to do with being in relationship with ourselves, with each other, with life itself, and with any higher power of our understanding. Sometimes the great creative mystery makes itself known in ways that are amazing to fathom. Whenever I write a song, or for that matter, a sermon, there almost always comes a point when I feel completely baffled, when I think, well, this is a big mess, and I don't know if I have the skill to complete it. Fortunately, the interdependently creative web of all existence is there to catch me and to say, have patience, stay present, it will come. One day I was working on a song about my father in the weeks just after he died. The song was almost finished, except for one particular line that I could not solve. Nothing worked. And then, out of the blue, a close friend of my dad's emailed me to say he was suddenly thinking about a phrase my dad used to say all the time. The phrase fit perfectly into the song, and it rhymed, and the lyric was finished. Not because of any great work that I did, but because of some larger, mysterious relationship that was taking place and that I was humbled to be a part of. The intertwined creative connection between all things, the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Now that was a particularly rare and awe-inspiring occurrence, and it certainly doesn't happen all the time. More often, the creative process unfolds like any relationship, either with others or with ourselves, with bursts of desire, excitement, and attraction, followed by times of frustration and lack of understanding, followed by times of simple day-by-day showing up with an open hand and an open heart. Through all of these phases, something new may be born, something that reflects in microcosm the macrocosm of the related world, something that reflects something of our own unique perspective on the mystery of life, something that creates a little more of that beauty that we are drawn to again and again, the kind that Rumi wrote about more than 1,500 years ago. In the end, we are all, each of us, great artists, and our medium, today and always, is love. Blessings and amen.